our song. Loving nature's what we do, so won't you come along? We'll journey on together, sharing what we know. Looking for adventure everywhere we go. We're Pathfinders.
Good morning, Pathfinders. Welcome along to the last in our 5-week block of Pathfinder sessions for this first part of our autumn adventures. How are you all this morning? Have you had a busy week? I know loads of you have been out in search of our spot of the week last week, which was to find some mushrooms or toadstools, some fungi, and loads of you had some luck there. So we'll share some of those later on. And there's definitely a lot to share. I didn't realise just how much till I checked in our sharing post this morning. And I think it's probably beaten the record for the number of things we've got to share today. So we'll see some more of that later on. So welcome along. I can see lots of you in the chat. Hello, hello, Marcus and Molly and Ollie and Zachary and Ezra and Tweed. Ebony is here, Cora, Alexia, Betty May, Zach and Logan, Aurora, a special hello from Eleanor, who is celebrating your 9th birthday today. Happy birthday, Eleanor. Wow, and you've chosen to spend some of your birthday with us. Well, that's just lovely. Welcome to Willow and Caden, and hello to Clem. Welcome to everybody. I think there's too many of us to shout out everyone today. So welcome along if you're watching and joining in this morning. Right, shall we get started and dive straight into our topic for today, which is we're looking at autumn migration. So we know what that word means, migration. We have explored it before in Pathfinders. I think maybe even last winter we had a little look at migration. So what do you think it means? What does it mean to you? Something that a lot of birds, are doing at this time of year, and maybe some animals too. What do we know about it? What do you think? I'll just see if there's any thoughts in the chat. Still lots of just people saying hello, hello, hello. Ezra, yes. So leaving a cold country to a warmer one. Yeah, so moving from one place to another. Animals travel to warmer countries. Spot on. Ethan, yeah, going perhaps south for the winter. Yep, to somewhere that's warmer. Go to another country or place dependent on the weather. Yeah, so as the weather changes, they move on. Yeah, well done. Loads of you saying, yeah, all about that migration, meaning to move along, move to somewhere new, to migrate to somewhere different. And that is, yes, due to a change in the weather and the temperature. So shall we start by just finding out a little bit more about it?
Autumn migration. Every year, millions of birds fly thousands of miles to escape the cold UK winter. It's called migration, and it's all about survival. First up, our summer visitors. These birds come to the UK in spring to breed, lay eggs and raise their chicks. But when autumn comes, they head south for a warmer winter. Examples of these birds are swallows that fly all the way to South Africa, swifts who also head to Africa and can fly for months without landing, and cuckoos who sneakily lay their eggs in other birds' nests and then fly to the Congo rainforest. So some of these birds fly over 6,000 miles. That's like walking from London to the Sahara Desert 10 times. But it's not all birds leaving. Some are just arriving. Let's meet some of our winter visitors. Redwings and fieldfares fly in from Scandinavia and Iceland. Brent geese, they come all the way from the Arctic tundra. And whooping swans migrate from Iceland to spend winter in the UK. To them, the UK is like a cosy winter holiday. So why do they go to all this trouble? Well, it's all about food and survival. In winter, it's hard to find insects or berries in the UK, so birds go where the food is and where it's warm enough to stay alive. So next time you look up and see a V shape of birds in the sky, remember they're on a mission. Whether they're flying south to the sunshine or north to find food, migration is one of the most amazing things in nature.
So at the moment, we have birds arriving in our country. To them, this is their summer holiday. Our country's a lot warmer than where they spend the rest of the year. So they spend their winter with us. And there's some birds that just leave that we can't see in the winter because they are off to warmer countries. But it's not just birds that migrate. Do we know any other animals or creatures that migrate? Any thoughts on that? What do you think? Let's have a look. Pipistrelle bats. In autumn, they tend to migrate from the northern parts of the UK and they spend winter in the warmer southwest. And some will travel as far as southern Europe. So they head from the north of the UK and they'll head to the southwest. So while it may not seem like they're going very far, they may end up just in the southwest of England or sometimes into Europe. So they're not migrating very far, but for them, that difference in temperature means they can survive. And they navigate by echolocation. We heard that word before. So it means they make high-pitched noises that bounce off objects, and this creates an echo to tell them where they are. So a really clever skill that bats have. Let's have a look at another one. Well, we've got another bird here, an osprey. Look at this wingspan on that bird, absolutely huge. These birds migrate to the warmer temperatures of the coast of West Africa. So they could be seen in the UK, but during the winter, off they go. They are large birds of prey that eat fish. They can dive into the water to catch fish, sometimes completely submerging themselves underwater. Oh, that's exciting. Hannah, William and Samantha saw a bat outside in their garden. Oh, wow, I bet that was exciting. And we've got a question in the chat. Do all birds migrate? What do you think? Do all birds migrate at some point? Do we have different birds here in the winter and different birds here in the summer? What do you think? Are there birds that are here all year round that you think you can see in the spring, the summer, the autumn and the winter? What do you think? Yeah, I think you're right. So lots of Pathfinders saying in the chat in reply to that question that no, not all birds migrate. So some birds are resident birds and they stay here all year round. And we'll talk about some of those in a bit. Yeah, you're right, Eve. Robins are one of our resident birds. Yes, you can see those all year round. Let's have a look at another migrating animal, the common toad. So some creatures, like the common toad, they do migrate, but just much shorter distances. These amphibians live in areas like woodlands, gardens, hedgerows, but they breed in ponds during the spring and summer. So they'll spend their winter somewhere a little bit warmer, perhaps. They want the shelter of a woodland or a garden or right in the middle of a damp hedgerow. But in the summer and the spring, they move to the water. They generally migrate back to the ponds around mid-February. So those of you that were with me during Frog Watch, or was it Toad Watch? I think we decided it was probably a frog. There is a frog that visits my garden, and I think it must have gone somewhere a bit warmer now to spend the winter, not been seen for a while. And fish as well migrate. And we've talked about this with salmon before and talked about them leaping up waterfalls as they travel upstream back to their breeding, their spawning grounds. So some creatures migrate to a warmer environment, some do the opposite. Cod are cold water fish found around the British Isles, and some move to colder Nordic and Scandinavian waters during the summer months. So during the summer, the sea temperatures around the UK, it gets too warm for them. So they're off to somewhere a bit colder. So I suppose it's not always about going somewhere warmer, but it's about going somewhere where they can thrive, where it's the best conditions for that particular animal, bird, fish. Okay, yeah, a fish. I know. Who knew that fish could migrate? So obviously you won't see the fish flying through the air, but they do travel at different points in the year. Fantastic. Right then. Well, I reckon, Pathfinders, it's time we stepped outdoors. And we need a Pathfinder to help us do just that, don't we? We need someone to take us off on a nature walk today. And luckily, I have a Pathfinder Pack Presenter waiting to meet you all. We are going to join Wilf this morning on his nature walk. And, well, it's action-packed, Wilf's nature walk. You're going to need to switch your brains on for this one. Because Wilf's going to test our knowledge. Let's see what he's been up to.
We're in Monmouthshire. We're going to look for some birds. We put some seed on a log and we're waiting for the birds to have a little snack. While we wait, we're going to play a game. It is bird song quiz. We're going to do resident UK birds. Okay, do you know what this bird song is? Maybe this one. Do you know? Well, I can say it is a blackbird. Okay, next bird sound. What is this bird sound? Do you know? Well, it is a robin. Well, move on to the next bird song. What is this? Well, I can reveal it is a wren. What is this bird song? It is a sparrow. Well, what is this last bird song? Well, I can say it is a blue-tit.
So, what's your favourite bird?
It's a lapwing.
Wow. Why do you like lapwings?
They just look quite nice.
Yeah. Well, where would I find a lapwing?
On farmland.
Okay. And what does it sound like?
Something like peewit. We've relocated to the garden and we're hoping to see some birds. We filled up the feeders. We saw a blue-tip, nuthatch, wood pigeon, collared and grated on that bird feeder. Thank you for watching my video. Bye!
Bye, Wilf. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Lots of your Pathfinder friends are saying, well done. They loved that bird call quiz. What a great idea. Some of them are beautiful, aren't they? That lapwing noise that you played us. Wow. I definitely don't think I've heard one. No wonder it's your favourite bird. What an unusual bird call. And it's beautiful. You coloured that picture in really well. I have no doubt as well, Wilf, that your garden is kind of like the best restaurant in town for birds. Looks like they were all flocking there to have some of those yummy treats you left out. Yes, you're so good at identifying birds. Some of the Pathfinders are saying, it was so good. Well done, Wilf. They're all congratulating you on a great little nature walk. So thank you, Wilf, for taking all that time to take us along on your nature walk today. And yeah, I did miss a little shout out at the beginning, so I'm going to sneak it in now. Because we've got another birthday today amongst the Pathfinders, Barnaby and Millicent, 8 and 10 today, who are celebrating in Cyprus. Happy birthday to you two. Right then. Well, thank you, Wilf, for taking us through some of those birds. And quite a few native birds there, weren't there, that are resident birds to the UK, that don't migrate. So chances are you might well be able to see some of those this week when you're out and about. And that leads nicely, doesn't it, into our spot of the week.
Hello Pathfinders, it's Kirsty and Winnie here. We're out and about exploring, so it must be time for a spot of the week. For this week's spot of the week, we're going bird watching. And you might be able to hear more than you can see this week. So we'll definitely need lots of patience to see what we can spot. But remember, just like Wilf on his nature walk earlier, you might be able to identify the birds you can hear, even if you can't see them. To help with your bird spotting, you could leave some nuts or seeds out for the birds. Or maybe you've got a bird feeder in your garden. Perhaps you could make one. My top tip for bird watching: find a quiet place and make yourself, well, as invisible as you can be. Stay really quiet, try not to move too much, and see who flutters by. See if you can identify the birds that you find. They might be resident birds to the UK, or they might be visiting for the winter. You might spot some of these birds that are resident in the UK. They live here all year round. Or maybe you'll spot some winter visitors. Here's a few of them. Good luck with your spot of the week, Pathfinders.
So see what you can find this week. For me, well, taking Winnie on a bird watching expedition isn't always the best, because she does tend to scare them away. As soon as they hear her coming, they're off. So I didn't have much luck. I'm going to go on an expedition this week without Winnie in tow to see what I can see. So we'll all let each other know how we get on, and you can add your spot of the week to your Pathfinder scrapbook. There's a few of you asking in the chat about being a Pathfinder Pack presenter, just like Wilf was today. So the best way is to get in touch. Just drop me an email just to say Pathfinder Pack Presenter form, please, and I will send you the form. Anyone who is a Pathfinder Pack Presenter, you've got to fill in a form first, and then you will go onto the list. There's a little bit of a waiting list, so there might be a little bit of a wait. You might have to be a bit patient there, but you will all get a turn eventually. Right then, so We've sorted our spot of the week. We're going to see what birds we can find. Shall we have a little quiz? Yeah, time for an activity. Let's have a look at what we've got in store today. It's quiz time. Right, I've got a few questions for us to think about here, and some of them you may not be able to you may not know the answer to, but maybe you could have a guess. Maybe you could have a think. Maybe you've heard of these particular animals or birds and their migration. Well, our first question here is, which animal migrates the furthest? So we've got two birds here and a spider crab. We've got the Arctic tern. We've got that spider crab, which does migrate. And we've got a swallow, which we heard about earlier in our video, didn't we? So what do you think? Are there any clues? Well, Arctic gives us a bit of a clue, the Arctic tern, as to where that bird might spend some of its year at least. What do you think? Okay, in the chat, we've got a mixture here. We're kind of torn between the two birds, we think. So we don't think the spider crab goes as far as the birds. I reckon you could be right there. But we're a mixed bag. I think lots of people thinking the swallow, but some thinking it's the Arctic tern. Well, shall we find out? Let's have a little look. It is the Arctic tern. 44,000 miles, what? To 59,000 miles per year from its Arctic breeding grounds to the Antarctic and back again each year. That is a lot of flying. It does stop along the way, so that's not one continuous flight, but it doesn't stop for long. I know, amazing, isn't it? That is a really long migration. The longest. What about the monarch butterfly? Does that migrate? Is it true or false? Would a butterfly migrate? We looked into butterflies, didn't we? Well, a couple of months ago now, I think, during our summer adventures. What do you think? Does a butterfly migrate? Does the monarch butterfly migrate? Any of you spotted these? Right, we've got most people saying, oh no, it's a mixture again. It's a total mixture. I was going to say most people are saying false, but now lots of people saying true. Let's have a look. Aurora says it's true. What do you think? Ezra is agreeing with you. Let's have a little look, shall we? Shall we find out? We think, oh, they might go to Mexico. Some good thoughts here. Let's have a look. Starting at their breeding grounds in northeast of North America, they travel to the forests of southwestern Mexico to spend the winter. So they do migrate. Spot on, whoever that was that said Mexico. So they do travel to a warmer climate. Well done. Right, what is the name of this migrating animal? What do you think this animal is called? I've given you the first letter. What do you think? I've given you the first letter of each word. I reckon we could probably get what the second word is. What about the first word? Have any of you investigated turtles? I think I saw a little comment in the chat earlier, actually, about turtles on following the jet streams. Right, okay, we've got some possible answers coming in. Could it be a loggerhead turtle? Could it be a leatherback turtle? A lurcher turtle? What do we think? Leatherback turtle, Archie and Ben are pretty sure. Hannah Williams, Samantha agrees, so does Aniqua. Long-tailed turtle, could it be? Interesting. Let's have a little look, shall we? It is the leatherback turtle. There's almost like a leathery shell, hasn't it, with those stripes down it, that dark colour. Leatherback turtles can travel 16,000 kilometres, so 10,000 miles or more each year, crossing the entire Pacific Ocean in search of jellyfish. So they follow the food, and that's a common thing in migration, isn't it? Remember, it's all about survival. So those animals are going to go where they need to in order to get their food, to stay alive and to thrive. Right, let's have a look. Well done, Zoe, you were spot on. Leatherback turtle. Right, let's have a look at this. We've got another migrating Animal this time, a whale. What's the name of this migrating whale? Any ideas? Can we identify it? We know any different types of whale. Which one will fit in those gaps? I think we've got the right number of dashes for the number of letters, so you might be able to work it out. Oh, Peter's straight in. What do you think? I think there's a lot of people agreeing with you, Peter. We've got the same guesses coming in. Taylor agrees. So do Archie and Ben, and Cora, we think it's a humpback whale. It is a humpback whale, found in all the world's oceans and in the northern and southern hemispheres. Each population has its own feeding and breeding grounds and different migration routes. So although these whales are found in all of the oceans, it doesn't mean they're necessarily going to travel to every ocean, but they'll have different routes that they take. They may move from like the Southern Ocean through across up into the Indian Ocean or across through to the Pacific. But yes, can be found in all of the oceans, all having these different migration routes. And as we're going through these, if any of these animals you think, oh, I want to know more about that, add a little research project to your list. If you think, I want to look at those migration routes and see where humpback whales are, where do they go to and from, then jot it down, ask mum or dad or whoever's around. So we're going to look at this later on. If anything kind of sparks your imagination and you think, I want to know more about that. Right, we got another question now. Which animal migrates the shortest distance? What do you think then here? We've got the emperor penguin, the bull elephant seal, and the North American blue grouse. Interesting. Well, 3 quite different animals. What do you think? Which one goes the shortest distance? Right, what do we think? We're going with, well, so far it's equal votes between all 3. I think this is maybe a guessing one, isn't it? What do you reckon? Ollie thinks the penguin. Let's have a look. Scarlett says the grouse. Olivia thinks the bull elephant seal. It's a tricky one, isn't it? I think it's going to be maybe a bit of a guessing game. What do you think? The shortest distance? Let's find out, shall we? Right. Well, we've got the information on all of them. The emperor penguin first then. They travel inland to breed. Typically between 30 to 75 miles from the coastline. So not very far at all, really. Do you think they might be the shortest? The bull elephant seals, they make an annual migratory journey of at least 13,000 miles. Right, well, they go a lot further than the emperor penguins, but what about the blue grouse? The North American blue grouse, it migrates from pine forests to deciduous woodlands. About, well, this is definitely the least, isn't it? About 300 meters. Wow. Well, still a migration. It moves from one particular area to another at different points in the year. So yes, it does still count as a migration, but it's just a very, very short one. So compare that to what did we see earlier? The Arctic tern that flies the whole way from the Arctic to the Antarctic. And back again each year. Well, that 300 meters just isn't very far, but still counts as a migration. So well done if you had a guess at that one, everybody. Fantastic. Right. Well, let's have a look. I mean, we're talking about the whole world, aren't we, this week in terms of migration? But let's have a look at some paths around the world, some migratory paths, and find out about some animals that we maybe don't see here in the UK. We've got a message, first of all, from New Zealand. Well, it's also from Alaska. and going via China as well. Well, this is a message from all of these places. Let's see what it's all about, shall we? Let's have a look. So this bird, this is the bar-tailed godwit, and is believed to travel the longest non-stop journey of any bird in the world. So while the Arctic tern, that wins in terms of distance, that the Arctic tern does have a little pit stop, like we would stop, you know, stop in a lay-by or stop at a service station on the way. The Arctic tern does stop during its epic journey. But this bird, the bar-tailed godwit, that travels non-stop. So it doesn't stop during its huge flight. And it makes this journey in order to breed. So where does it travel? It travels from New Zealand to Alaska, stopping in China on the way. On the return journey, so travels over 7,000 miles without stopping. I can't quite wrap my head around that. What an amazing bird that it can fly for 7,000 miles, no stop. And the return journey, it takes 9 days of constant flying. Amazing. Yeah, I do too. I call that dedication, someone has said. Yeah, commitment to their survival, isn't it? Wow, it makes our lives look pretty easy, doesn't it? We've got another message. This one is from the Western Atlantic Ocean. Let's see then what's happening here. At the start of summer, Caribbean spiny lobsters form conga lines to move in groups across the ocean floor into deeper water. They do this to protect themselves from predators. So their migratory route is from the shallows into the deeper water. But as they go into that deeper water, predators. So they need to protect themselves. So it's safety in numbers, and they form a conga line, all holding onto each other. Have a little look at that picture there. Amazing. There they all are doing the conga. Lobsters keep together by maintaining contact with their long antennae, using them to stay in line. The migration can last a few weeks, with lobsters covering really long distances in these queues before separating once they reach more sheltered waters. Look at that. I think that's amazing. What a sight that would be to see, a big long line of lobsters all joined together. All this migration that's going on around the world. Right then, Pathfinders, I think it's time I hand it over to you. What do you reckon? Time to have a look at your Scraptastic creations from last week. Can you remember our topic last week? We were looking at fungi and mushrooms and toadstools, and creating, like mine here, our little woodland crafts. Lots of you took on the challenge and got creative, and there's quite a few spots of the week to share too. Let's have a look what you've all been up to. Brilliant. Well done, everybody. I can't believe all those different types of fungi that you discovered. Absolutely wonderful. And I loved seeing all of your crafts. Loads of great work this week. Lots of you took on a woodland challenge and you hid your fungi amongst the forest. So we had some models, we had some felt fungi, I think, as well. Brilliant. Lots of you saying well done to each other in the chat. You found way more than expected. Well, that's brilliant. I think sometimes you get a lucky spot, don't you, for fungi. Remember, it's all about the conditions, isn't it? Found a chanterelle mushroom. Oh, brilliant. Well done to everybody. And remember, you can share your Scraptastic challenges or the spots of the week, if you like, in our Facebook group sharing posts. If you're not a member, make sure mum or dad have joined our Facebook group, Twinkle Home Educators. Every week, there's a Pathfinder sharing post. Just drop them in the comments and we'll feature them in our live session. Right then, you need a new Scraptastic challenge for this week before we dash away and head out in search of birds. We need to set our Scraptastic challenge this week, and here it comes.
It's time for a Scraptastic challenge, and this week I'm making a bird mobile. You could make this or another type of bird decoration. I started by sketching out some birds and then went over my pencil lines with a darker colour. Now these birds need a bit of colour, so I used some watercolour paints. Can you tell which birds they are now? Next, I cut out each individual bird, and then I decided to write some facts about that bird on the back of each one. Then I attached some thread to each bird and hung them from, well, I used a straw, but you could use a stick. And there it is, my finished bird mobile. And as the birds spin around, the facts get revealed. Have a go at creating your own bird-themed display.
And here it is. I think that looks rather lovely. I'll have to somehow attach this and hang this up here. So have a go at that this week, or something similar. If you're inspired by those animal migrations or bird migrations, see what you can create. I know you always find a way to surprise me, so have fun with that, Pathfinders. Right then, I reckon we've come to the end. Oh, it's gone too quick, hasn't it? But I'll see you very soon. This might be our last in this little block of 5 sessions. But don't worry, Pathfinders will be back after a little break. We have coming up, and you might have spotted us talking about it already on the Facebook group. We have coming up our next week of wonder, and things are getting a bit mysterious because the topic is mission mystery. So I hope you can join us for that, and more details about all of what's in store will be coming up soon. So have a brilliant week, Pathfinders, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye. Bye.